At the request of the Board of County Commissioners, this land use study and the community plan update began in January earlier this year in 2020. And it has gathered information from residents, from business owners, property owners, and citizens about the current state of development within Wimauma, focusing on the Wimauma Village Residential 2, or the WVR2, as we call it, and also looking at the development within downtown Wimauma along State Road 674. So the study has updated and reaffirmed the existing Wimauma community plan in many ways, and we'll touch on some of that this evening, and creating a set of supplemental zoning regulations to help guide the form and function of downtown Wimauma, and provide new guidance as to how development within the WVR2 might occur. The WVR2 is one of 30 land use categories that is employed by the county to help guide development. Land use categories in tandem with a separate zoning district regulate any number of things that make up your neighborhood. So how many homes can be built, how far apart they can be, sometimes even what they look like, what kind of businesses will locate down the street, and how much parking they can have. Just a few of the numerous things that regulations can cover in the zoning that takes place within your neighborhoods. So, and just to remind everyone a little bit about the outreach that has taken place so far, we had done a big kickoff meeting and a charrette back in March, just before the pandemic. And I have to say, I'm really excited that we did it that week and we were able to get in and be with the community for 3.5 full days, gathering input and sharing ideas with everyone. It was a really successful kickoff, and we learned a lot from the community about issues, concerns, opportunities, and the potential that everyone noted in their word cloud. We've also done a community survey, which was previously launched in April and June. We've done virtual work sessions in June. We've presented to the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners, and meetings with the community groups in this past August, both virtual and in person. And so those are just some of the things that we wanted to recap for everyone in case you're new to the process or maybe haven't been here along the entire way with us. Some of the key objectives, and these were elements that we wanted to highlight. Some of these are new, but some of them are really just expanded from the original community plan, but they really did help guide us through the update. And so some of these important pieces were to create urban and community design strategies to embrace mobility and establish a network that was be connected throughout Wimauma. And this was talked about quite a bit in terms of connecting both the existing residential areas with the downtown and new residential areas with the downtown. So we've heard a lot about walkability, public transit, bicycle networks, and kids being able to walk and bike to and from school. These are things that have carried over from the original plan. We have emphasized them a bit more and given them some emphasis in the community plan update. The distinct vision and character for Wimauma, this was something that was also carried through that we brought forward from the original plan. The place-like qualities, revitalizing Wimauma's downtown. This was something that was also really important, creating opportunities for strengthening the community's access to jobs, to education, in the region overall. So these were things that we had heard during the workshop and the charrette, as well as the survey, and then maintaining the affordability of Wimauma. This was something that we heard quite a bit from a number of residents and business owners, and also wanting to be able to expand that affordability as well. to ensure that the final Wimauma Village Community Plan communicates a framework for sustainable and coordinated community development is also something that was really important. There is a reciprocal relationship between downtown and the rest of the Wimauma area, and having everyone share in that prosperity will be a key piece that is a thread throughout the community plan. And encouraging affordable housing is also one. And adopting policies that will help achieve the community plan, which is where we're going to focus tonight. So some of the health, equity, resilience, and sustainability guiding principles led us to understand some of the most critical needs that are in Wimauma now. So looking at health, access to health care, access to a healthier lifestyle, access to safer streets for all ages. And these were things, again, that we found were critical from hearing from the community and also doing analysis within Wimauma. For housing, a thorough needs assessment, is something that we think is really going to be critical. Resilient housing that is connected to resources and amenities, and financial assistance and housing for mobile home replacement. Opportunities to invest locally. This is something that we thought was also a critical need, and we heard discussed quite a bit. Opportunities to earn locally also goes hand in hand with that. So looking at the capacity of infrastructure and the capacity to preserve and capitalize on the valuable resources of open space in the agricultural landscape and rural character that Wimauma has. So this was the vision that we updated for the community plan, and really some of the key pieces that I'll just highlight briefly is that a walkable community connected by a network of trails with thriving local businesses and farmers markets along a porch-like Main Street, a community which is safe and welcoming to residents and businesses with access to educational opportunities and healthcare. These are just some of the pieces that we think are really important in terms of tying those critical needs and opportunities together and bringing it under one vision. One of the other key elements that focused on was a community-wide approach. So those of you that have been with us through the process have heard me talk a lot about the idea of a self-sustaining community and what that means for Wimauma. And again, this relationship of the WVR2 to the downtown and the existing residential areas within the urban service boundary. So through the urban design framework, we wanted to support the livable communities element goals, and you can see those here. So again, it's really to encourage and allow for that self-sustaining component so that all neighborhoods can contribute to the prosperity of Wimauma. So these are really the main categories that we focused on. So looking at mobility and different types of mobility, forming character and focusing on the town and the rural landscape components within that, breaking that down into districts in the downtown and the WVR2. And then also looking at the environment and open space. We know that this is a really key component for the community. It was in the original plan, and that has carried forward in terms of conservation areas, looking at low impact design as being some of the green infrastructure for roadways and streets, being able to focus on and expand the amenity of agriculture within the community and highlight that aspect. And then cultural capital. So we actually feel that there's a lot of cultural capital in Wimauma. You have a number of organizations who work with the community on a regular basis. There are schools in the area. There's talk of expansion of schools. There is the potential for shared resources, and the social network is something that we think is very strong. And so these elements coming together really can help move the community plan forward, and again, emphasize that shared vision. So the WVR2, overall, again, we want to develop policy which supports those community goals. And in order to avoid a pattern of single dimensional development that could contribute to urban sprawl, it is the intent of this category to designate areas inside the boundaries of the Wimauma Village Plan that are suited for agricultural development in the immediate horizon of the plan, but may be suitable for the expansion of the village as described. So this is, again, was the original intent, and we are carrying this forward, and we're looking at how we can create more of a self-sustaining nature and help to support the downtown with new development that we see. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we move into the next slides. So here we're showing some of the key components that we have built into policy, including the idea of connectivity in street networks, open space and maintaining open space requirements, and clustering, and encouraging clustering to happen within the new developments of the WVR2. This again is something that was carried forward from the future land use element. We have increase the clustering ratio in the new plan, and we're doing it in conjunction with several other policies to really help encourage open space, both for conservation and for recreation in Wimauma, and to also encourage that clustering to happen as close to the existing urban service boundary as possible, so that there is the strong connection between the WVR2 and the existing urban service area in downtown of Wimauma. So one of the other key components in the policy is taking place and shifting from the employment requirement. We know this has been something that's been brought up. It was identified as a need in the market study, and we're expanding on things that subdivisions are currently often tasked with, but we wanted to make sure that we could reflect the specific benefits that were identified in the Wimauma Community Plan. So the idea is to shift from the employment requirement, which is currently in the policy, to the community benefits requirements. And those community benefits requirements focus on things like land and dedication for parks, schools, and trails, infrastructure, diversity of housing types within the WVR2, so that we get again, different options there for people to live, mobility improvements, and the preservation of open space. So the benefits list that we have within the policy does expand on these further, but I wanted to give everyone an idea of what some of those look like and how they fit in to the overall community goals. So when we start to talk about the density allowances, we wanted to be able to show you what is currently in the policy and what is proposed. So currently there's 1 unit to 5 acres, and it can become 2 dwelling units per gross acre. This is something that a number of our landowners are familiar with already, with the clustering ratio of 3.5. What we're proposing is not changing that element, but we are proposing increasing the ability to cluster. The reason that we're proposing the increase in clustering is really to support a more sustainable pattern of development. If we can cluster houses closely, they can utilize amenities better, and they can cluster them in such a way that it would really, again, lend itself to being a more self-sustaining community, creating that reciprocal relationship between the WVR2 to support the downtown. Also proposed is a 20% affordable housing density bonus, in which we would, if that affordable housing component is met by new development, it would allow the clustering ratio to increase up to 8 dwelling units per net acre. The reason that that increase is taking place for the clustering is so that we can allow for the diversity of housing types, so that we might see townhouses or small apartment houses that get built within the scale of the neighborhoods, and again, be able to create that diversity within those newly developed neighborhoods. So the transfer of development rights, this is another policy component that we looked at quite a bit. It is currently already in the code and allowed, but the current one allows for what you see here in terms of the transfer of a 1-to-1 ratio within the WVR2. So it would allow someone to transfer a developable unit from one WVR2 property to another WVR2 property. You can see here. And what we're proposing is that it would allow transfers from the WVR2 to the downtown. So moving developable parcels out of the WVR2 area into the downtown area or the urban service boundary. The reason that this is significant is because we are looking at creating a downtown receiving zone, and that receiving zone would offer a new ratio. It would be a ratio of 1-to-2. So every one unit coming out of WVR2 could be worth 2 units within the receiving zone. So this is a way to encourage development to happen within both the downtown and within the urban service boundary. And it is also included as one of those elements of the community benefits. And so this is another way for us to help support downtown and Main Street by adding units there, as you can see in this slide here. So this is a really key piece. In order for development to support a thriving Main Street, we have to have enough of it. And typically we see 1,000 to 2,000 rooftops to support one block of Main Street. So with the proposal that we are putting forward for Wimauma and looking at the potential of how many blocks of Main Street we think there is potential for, we're looking at, 8 to 10 blocks of Main Street total. These are smaller blocks. They're not extremely dense blocks, but they will require a certain number of households to be able to support them. So this is one of the reasons that we're looking at that type of policy, both to support the Main Street as well as to also support the rural character outside of the urban service area. For the downtown Wimauma, again, we're still looking at policies that will help support the community goals. And a number of these elements are within the livable communities element within our comp plan. So we're looking to revitalize the Wimauma downtown by developing a downtown master plan. And so this helps give us a sense of what it looks like and where we're looking to promote business growth. So the shaded area here is the area that I just spoke about as the receiving zone. It's an area that has room for development, and we're looking to see that area be able to develop in terms of the added density through transfer of development rights and through a downtown overlay. Now, the downtown overlay will not rezone properties. And so that's a key piece. And we would only see properties rezoned if there was a significant expansion of an existing property or a use was going to be changed. The dash line is showing you the proposed main streets. We are still including the portion of State Road 674 within what we would consider the Main Street corridor, but we're also shifting that Main Street to a north-south orientation and taking advantage of the anchors that are just south of 674 and also at the north end of 4th Street with the senior center that is there. 4th really does give an opportunity to create more Main Street character. And by creating the T shape for the corridor, it gives us a chance to address the safety issues that are at the intersection of 4th and State Road 674, which we know were a big concern to the community, especially with Wimauma Elementary being here just south of 674 and wanting the kids to be able to walk and bike to and from school. And again, this is just a conceptual image of the potential gateway. We heard a lot from the community about the forming character within the overlay district, and also looking at how older Florida towns, designate an arrival. And so this idea of the arrival to Wimauma was something that we heard echoed in the community. Again, this is just a conceptual idea of what it could look like. But we wanted to show everyone, what a gateway element might be. And this is being proposed, to be at that entrance of Main Street, that intersection of where those two Main Street corridors come together. And again, for forming character, this one is also important in terms of just showing conceptual scale. Again, we're showing brick in the renderings. The buildings, there's no requirement that is the material that would be used, but we are encouraging porch-like frontages on the stores and things that would help tie back to that small town feel of Wimauma and the overall character of an old Florida small town. So these were some of the key pieces. We heard quite a bit about wanting, to have that feel in the downtown and on Main Street. And this, again, is looking at the housing and the affordable housing component. We're trying to support this through the downtown receiving zone. Private property owners would be able to rezone their properties for increased densities. This is something that is already allowed in the code for affordable housing. We're hoping that the receiving zone is something that really encourages it and gives it a landing place for that to happen. That would be allowed to also happen in a potential stacking mechanism with the transfer of development rights. So those two things could come together within that receiving zone area. And so we just wanted to be able to, again, help promote some of the existing elements that are within the code, but organize them in such a way that it gives everyone that shared vision of where they can and potentially should be happening. The downtown strategic action plan, the idea of the strategic action plan and having one came from discussions with the community and some of the organizations in the community, as well as components that were in the original plan for Wimauma. So looking at leveraging assets in Wimauma that would be enacted by the community. So this is really helping organize initiatives that the community can advocate for within their plan. And so these are the topic categories that we focused on within those, and looking for ways the community can help advocate for development opportunities, for business development, for education, affordable housing, multimodal opportunities, health and wellness, infrastructure, and public realm. So these are categories that you see throughout the plan. We do have some of these elements that are attached to policy components, but the strategic action plan focuses on those things that the community can do. So just going forward, letting everyone know what next steps are. We have another survey online. So we're encouraging everyone to go online and take the survey. We have today's workshop with all of you. There's a planning commission November 9th, and then we will have additional planning commission and board of county commissioner workshops coming next month. January and February, we anticipate the public hearing process to begin, and then in May, the moratorium ends. So we're encouraging everyone to stay connected with us. And you can do that through a number of ways, including checking out the project website, which is here on this slide. And you can go there for more information. We have all of the document drafts there which you can view. And then if you have questions, you can reach out to Tatiana Gonzalez, who will help answer those questions or put you in touch with me or anyone that can help provide some answers. And you can see that we have 2 video links here, one in English and one in Spanish, which gives an overview of the project, and it is posted up on that project website as well. So please take a look at the website. If you have questions, if you're looking for documents, it's a great place to go. There's been previous videos that have been posted from the previous meetings, as well as presentations and the policy drafts.